What's up guys, Eli here, back for another video. This is going to be my part 2 video of the Stone Cold Black Metal Classics. Last time I did 10, I got another 10 now to round it out, and 10 plus 10 is 20, I'm pretty sure last time I checked. What was I going to say? So yeah, I'm going to do that. And once again, these aren't necessarily this isn't like my top 10 or 20 black metal albums of all time, or anything like that. I basically just picked 20 black metal albums that I personally really like. Most of these bands are amongst my favorite bands, but I mean, yeah, it's not a personal list. It's basically just a list of albums I picked and, you know, felt like talking about. I do consider them all classics in their own right. They get situated here. I kind of have them in some sort of order, but not really. We're going to start off with Immortal, Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism. Definitely one of my favorite bands. One of the bands that got me into black metal. Pretty much got into these guys after I heard like Cradle of Filth and Emperor, and I took it another step further and found Immortal. I've loved them ever since. They're probably my favorite black metal band, and just one of my favorite bands in general. And I picked this one. It's not necessarily my favorite Immortal album, but I do fucking love it. It's a great album. Everyone's heard it. If you haven't heard it, I don't know what to say. If you have, you know what I mean when I say this album does kind of stand out in their discography. I mean, most of their albums sound different than the other albums, the ones that preceded it. But this one kind of stands alone in their discography. It's more of a raw, primitive sound that they would pretty much abandon right after this. So I kind of like it for that reason. I sort of wish they had done more in the vein of that album, although I do like the albums that would come afterwards. Alright, we're still in Norway. We're going to go with Enslaved. I was going to pick one of their earlier albums, but I just went with this their 92 demo. Obviously this is a repress. It's a CD reissue by Peaceville. It's nothing original or anything like that, but yeah, man, pick it up if you can find it. Got it, I don't know, I think it came out in 2011 or something for $9 or $10. It's got a bonus track on there in addition to the 5 tracks that they have on the original demo. Like I said, I was going to pick one of their earlier albums like Frost or I don't know. I went with the demo just because this was kind of a nice starting point for Enslaved. I really like the way this to me, this is definitely one of the best black metal demos. It just gave you a nice, I don't know, it was a really good start for the band of, you know, what they would do later on. But even being as young as they were, these guys were, I want to say they were 15 or 16 when this demo came out, and it's pretty fucking fantastic considering the fact. All right, more Norway stuff. I went with For All Tid by Dimmu Borgir. You know, it's definitely, you're allowed to not like Dimmu Borgir, but if you say that you don't like this album or even their second album, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like even fans of, or non-fans of Dimmu Borgir, I should say, I think really could get into this and probably their second album as well. And just kind of like with the Immortal album, I mean, this one definitely stands alone in their discography. It's not nearly as bombastic or symphonic as they would become later on. Even on their second album, they added a ton of more keyboards. This one is, it's just kind of straightforward, you know, early to mid 90s Norwegian black metal. It's a good album, man. I don't know what else I can say about it. I also, like I said with Immortal, I also wish they would have kind of went down this path. I do like some of Dimmu Borgir's later stuff, as I said before, but if they'd have kept it in the vein of the first 2 albums for their entire career, and that would have been a lot cooler, but they didn't, so yeah, whatever. Next, last album from Norway on this list. I had to throw some Darkthrone on there, and I went with The Blaze in the Northern Sky. Always tough for me to choose a Darkthrone album out of, you know, their first 3 or 4 albums. And I almost pick a different one every time, to be honest. So I went with this one. I don't know, when I was younger, when I was getting into Darkthrone and, you know, black metal, I always preferred Transylvanian Hunger, but as years went by, I kind of started to gravitate towards this one more. it's, in my opinion, it's their best. But you know, like I said, you give me a couple months, I'll probably say something else. At one point, I really liked their third album. It's hard to choose. That's the one I went with. At this time, I'm going to say that's my personal favorite. Next, I had to go with some Rotting Christ. I'm a massive Rotting Christ fan. Fucking love them. Rotting Christ from Greece, Passage to Arcturo. This is a Unruly Sound reissue. I went with this one just because, you know, it's an early recording. It gives you a nice taste of what's to come. You know, and I also feel like this EP had a really fucking good atmosphere. Nice kind of cosmic atmosphere. I mean, they really had something going on with this that was quite unique at the time, and even to this day, I feel like it's a pretty unique recording. You know, they would go on to become one of my favorite bands. I like most of what they've done. Some of their mid to later albums got kind of boring. I don't know. It's kind of sad. I don't know. I don't expect them to put anything out anytime soon that'll blow my mind like those early albums did. But I mean, Greek black metal for me is a big one, and you know, not just Rotting Christ, but I could name at least 10 or 15 other bands that I don't know, that Greek sound, man. I mean, obviously in the early 90s, you know, the Norwegians and the Scandinavians in general wanted you to believe that, you know, only black metal came from, you know, fucking Sweden and Norway, but, you know, the stuff that the Greeks were putting out was just as vital, just as important to the history of black metal, every bit as important as fucking Norway. I mean, there's no debating that. Yeah, that Greek, I don't want to call it a scene, but those Greek bands from the early to mid 90s are, to me, and they're every bit as important as you know, any other country that put out some of those classic bands. Next, another one of my favorite bands, top 5 probably. We got Mystifier from Brazil with their debut album Wicca. Man, I don't even know where to start with Mystifier. This is a band that also, for me, just stands alone. I mean, they did their own thing. They have their own very fucking original sound. Not all their albums sound the same necessarily. I mean, they had kind of they would evolve and, you know, change a little bit, add different elements to their music, but it worked every time. You know? So on this one, their debut full length, it's quite raw. It's quite primitive. Even compared to the albums that would come after this, they would become better musicians, but you know, there is some definite doomy evilness, you know, added to their, you know, their Black Death type metal that they would do up till here. This is their dirtiest, most raw album. It's their first, so that makes sense. But just I mean, every time I listen to Mystifier, I just get the same feeling. Just total occult, evil atmosphere. Just like an ancient sound that really can't be replicated. How many bands sound like Mystifier? I'm sure there have been some that aimed for that sound that they did, but it's not achievable, I don't think. Next, we're going to hop over to Poland, listen to some Graveland. We got In the Glare of the Burning Churches. This is a demo repress by Forever Plague Records, so it's got a ton of bonus tracks and shit. Graveland, best band, in my opinion, best band to ever come out of Poland. Very unique as well. Rob Darkin was obviously very inspired by Bathory, especially later on. Different eras of Bathory. I don't think he would probably ever deny that, but he took those Bathory influences and he did his own thing, man. He's got quite a variety of sounds. He's put out a shitload of material, and honestly, I've heard almost all of it, and I've been blown away by almost all of it. His discography is fucking top notch. From demos to his EPs and splits and full lengths, and I've literally never been disappointed on anything I've heard from Graveland. Obviously, that, you know, I chose the demo. Very, very raw pagan atmosphere, but done in his own way. Very unique sounding. You can play Graveland at any time, and you know, you're not ever going to mistake it for a different band. You put some Graveland on, and immediately, and if there's a Graveland fan nearby, they're going to know exactly who it is. Oh man, I'm fucking tired. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this video. I got 3 more albums. We're gonna go over to the Ukraine. We're gonna go with Druk with Autumn Aurora. I can't remember which version this is. I think it's an original Supernal music. What can I say about this album, man? I mean, this album literally sounds like the title. I mean, this is a quintessential fall atmospheric album. The closing track on here, The First Snow, would be probably the first kind of my introduction to like ambient music, and it kind of sparked my interest in ambient music. I still haven't heard that much, but I mean, these guys would mix, you know, ambient music with black metal and do it in a way that really spoke to me. I like a lot of their albums. I like some of their later stuff. I like all their earlier stuff, but this is, for me, this is the one I'm gonna go with. It's fantastic. I can't ever get tired of it. From there, we're gonna go to Germany. We're gonna listen to some Lunar Aurora with the album Mond. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, Mond. Lunar Aurora. They would play a black metal, also very atmospheric, heavily atmospheric. Kind of a spacey sound, kind of like a cosmic sound. Very wintry. I'm not very good at describing things, but if you haven't heard of Lunar Aurora and you just want to get, you want to hear something that you can just, an atmosphere that you can just get lost in, this is you're gonna want this. Perfect for listening to at night. Yeah, I mean, fantastic band. I think they split up. They have some other really fantastic albums. This would be kind of the last one that I would really love from them. So a couple albums before this were also fantastic. I don't think they ever did anything bad, but I couldn't get too much into the stuff after that. But that album right there, it's a masterpiece. And I had to include something from France, and that was tough. I wanted to go with something from Blue Das Nord, but honestly, I went with Despel Omega. I can never pronounce this. Yeah, you all know this album. If not, you can read that. I chose this. I'm probably a bigger fan of Blue Das Nord, but I went with this because this album has been highly influential on black metal in general. I mean, after this album came out, I can't even name how many bands and albums would try to emulate this specific sound. I would say this was kind of the high point of their career. I really like the earlier stuff. I actually like the stuff, personally, I like the stuff that came out before that. I prefer it. But this album, like I said, you cannot deny its influence. I mean, to this day, there are bands flocking to the scene trying to sound exactly like Despel Omega on that exact album. I mean, if you haven't heard it, I mean, this album is a black metal mindfuck. I mean, there is nothing that came out before this sounds like it. It's completely original. It is completely fucked up. It's completely chaotic. It's completely brilliant. You really can't deny that. So, anyways, yeah, that's it, guys. That's my shit. I can't remember who I got the idea from, but you know, it's been floating around YouTube for quite a while, and yeah, it's been cool. Whenever I see cool ideas for videos, you know, I try to jump on them if I feel like I have something to add. I usually try to throw in albums that I didn't see talked about too much, because if we all did the same 10 or 20 bands or 10 or 20 albums, it'd be kind of boring. Even if you can put your own spin on it, you know, descriptions and, you know, stories you might have about the albums. But anyways, that's all. I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna go sleep because I'm tired as shit. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for commenting and subscribing, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.